Anna, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, so for our remaining speakers, if you can't see our request or are unable to request, please drop out of the space and rejoin again. That usually solves the problem. And for those that are just tuning in, we will get started here as soon as we get our last speaker up.
Yeah, meanwhile, we can just do an introduction to the XTalks series so we don't remain in silence. It will be nice to introduce XTalks that are run and sponsored by Layer 1X. This space is completely safe, free, and educational. We got it up and running for the purpose of sharing information, creating collaborative environment, educating those perhaps who are not so familiar with Web3 space and would like to start familiarizing themselves with it. I just butchered that word actually, but well, it happens. So yeah, we are creating a friendly environment for projects, organizations, for listeners as well. So we encourage listeners to drop their questions in comment section. We also encourage, if someone is feeling brave, to get on stage in the end of spaces and ask their questions. So yeah, please keep that in mind. Also, we do appreciate a share and a like, and the more the merrier. It's always nice to have people around. But also, if we don't have too many people around, we are creating a podcast out of this space and sharing it for later on. Usually, these spaces are really cool to listen to when you drive somewhere. That's how I do it. I just can't wait to listen to, this space to hear my voice again. So yeah, but I'm pretty sure Cody has a nice introduction ready as well. So yeah, I'll pass it
Hey,
on.
thanks. Thanks, Anna. Anna is the manager over XTalks, and so is also the co-host for today's episode. Hey, everybody. My name is Cody. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at Layer 1X and your host for today's episode of XTalks. So just jumping in and just kind of giving a brief intro of what today's topic is going to be about, and then we'll get on to our panelists. And it looks like we're still having problems getting Supermoon up.
No, we've got Yelena on. She's
We do?
from
Okay,
Supermoon.
perfect.
Everything is fine.
Perfect. All right. As long as we've got a representative, we're good to go then. So, whether you're a seasoned project founder or just dipping your toes into the crypto waters, many enthusiasts believe that crypto events are where the magic happens. Today, we're going to be putting that thought to the test. Are these crypto events where you can make connections, collaborations, find funding opportunities, and even get a chance to showcase your project to the world? We'll find that out a little bit later in today's episode, but today's topic does raise some question. For example, with so many conferences, meetups, and virtual gatherings popping up, how do you know which ones are really worth your time and investment? Let's be honest, some of them are not cheap. And once you get in there, how do you know how to make the most of those opportunities? That's exactly what we're going to unpack today. And we're going to be exploring the strategies, the tips, the tricks that some people and successful projects use to navigate these event landscape, the pitfalls to avoid, and the emerging trends as we shape the future of these Web3 events. So grab your favorite swag bag and get comfy because we're about to level up your event game. Let's learn about these tips and tricks from today's panelists. And we are excited to get going. So with that being said, We've got some pretty amazing speakers that we've lined up for today. And let's start off with Elena. Do you want to introduce yourself and who you're representing? And then we'll go on to the Captain Crypto and then Arcanim. I think I don't have my glasses on this morning. Yeah, we'll just go through that order.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me today. So I'm Elena. I'm a co-founder of Supermoon. We're a community of over 18,000 founders, builders, and investors in crypto and Web3. We hyper focused on personal relationships. We're helping founders to get access to resources that goes beyond just funding. We're helping with strategic partnerships and other things that founders need in order to succeed. And we are hosting a lot of in-person curated events because we believe in relationship building, in creating of trust, which is important for you to find a way to collaborate. And me personally, I've been in crypto from 2014, from 17 on a professional level, built consulting company before, spent years in VC, and also was advising United Nations in the past on how to use emerging tech, including blockchain, to increase financial inclusion. And of course, since our industry was growing, I realized the need for this in-person experiences that helps to support founders in projects with their journey. So that was kind of like a short intake on how Supermoon was created and what was initial mission behind our first events.
Nice. Welcome. Go ahead, Captain Crypto.
Hey, well, first of all, I appreciate the invite. It's great to be here. So a little bit of background about me. I've been in crypto since 2016, mostly just as on the investor side, and really was trying to jump in all the Telegram groups and different social media and just kind of find out about how blockchain works and everything. Always was interested in keeping up with the new projects. I was a member of a few early DAOs. I got into some of the bigger coins a little earlier. But as far as professionally, I've been working in crypto since about 2019. Started helping projects build their communities, and then I started as a marketing manager, kind of by accident actually, because they brought me on to help with their community. The guy that brought me on, he left, so I became the de facto marketing manager and put a team together. And we launched a company called FinexFlow, which is a crypto exchange aggregator. And they did a successful launch on PokerStarter. And then ever since then, me and some of the people that were working on that project, we co-founded a company called Wolfpack Crypto. And we work with, Web3, not just crypto projects, but blockchain startups. And we help them with, mainly marketing, community building, and branding. But pretty much anything that a new Web3 project could, use, that's even developers, writers, access to VCs and things of that nature. And also for the last year, I've been working with LaToken as a listings manager. So just trying to identify promising projects and, grow my portfolio at LaToken. Also connected with most of the major exchanges. So at the moment, I'm working with one or two projects closely. Not trying to take on a lot. The market's a little crazy right now. I'm just trying to keep up with everything. But yeah, once again, glad to be here.
We're super happy to have you on board as well. Thank you so much for responding so quickly to our request and picking up on it. It's amazing. And we got Arcanum. Please correct me if I'm
Sure,
Go
I'll
for it.
help with pronunciation. It's Arcanum Capital.
Lovely. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So James McDowell here. I'm a founding partner at Arcanum Capital. We're a crypto and Web3 native VC. Me and my partners have been investing in the space since about 2013, and we launched our first fund in 2020. We raised $12 million and put that into 44 pre-seed and seed stage projects. We were the first check into Puffer Finance, and we also backed Cross the Ages in an early round, which just launched, just like a really cool NFT card game. We also seeded PlayZap, which became quickly the #1 Web3 game on Binance Chain. So quite a few cool things in the Fund 1 portfolio. And we've just partnered with Luganodes to raise our second fund. Luganodes are probably the world's fastest growing institutional staking provider. Luganodes is based in Lugano in Switzerland, hence the name. And they're sort of closely linked and backed by Tether and the city of Lugano. So that partnership is really cool. It allows us to add a lot of technical support to our portfolio companies. And I'm sure we'll get very, very good deal flow as well through that partnership.
Wonderful.
So great to be here. Thanks to Layer 1X for having us.
Thank you.
Just a random post with a tag, but we thought, yeah, we'll jump on. So thanks for having us, and thanks for everyone for listening in.
Brilliant. Thank you.
See, it does show that, getting out there and networking on Twitter does work. Thanks everybody for being here. Definitely to our panelists for taking the time out of their busy schedules to join us. And so before we jump into today's topic, if you're just joining, my name is Cody. I am the Chief Experience Officer at Layer 1X. We are a Layer 1 blockchain protocol, and we are talking about events today. The pros, cons, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever you want to talk about, we can get into it. So if you have any questions for our panelists, please be sure to drop those in the thread below, and Ina and I will look for those and bring them up to present to our panelists a little bit later in our show. But definitely think of some good questions that you can ask these panelists since we've got them here. So if you haven't already, please go ahead and share out the tweet to this episode, this X space. We would appreciate it. It would allow us to help get this great conversation out there, because I know that in the L1X community, we have a lot of people that are striving, people that are looking to potentially start their own projects. So this information is going to be very key and vital to their success. And so we definitely want to share this out with as many people as possible. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into today's topic. So the first question I've got for our panelists is, we've seen a proliferation of Web3 events over the last few years, from massive conferences to niche meetups. The question is, do you feel like there's a risk of event fatigue setting in? And how can you, as organizers or participants in these events, provide genuine value beyond just FOMO and party it up factors? Go ahead and just jump in if you want to answer that question.
I can start actually here. So I would say that events is actually they always help to support other things that are going on. It's always a great way to actually find an interesting and strategic network. So I see that a lot of tendency is actually changing into in-person experiences and activations. If you wanna, if you, for example, a project that are raising funds and trying also to find investors. It's way more challenging to do it online through any like cold reach outs rather than actually finding a person who can support you, who can share the vision with you. And it's always easier to do at our in-person events. I agree that there are a lot of parties, a lot of events that are not necessarily serving this purpose. But I think a lot more value is actually behind events that are more curated, where you're coming and you know that you're going to meet right people, or you're going to catch up with people who you already know and you have an opportunity to actually have a proper conversation with them. Because we all know, like, when we come to most of the events and it's just like a very loud music, it's impossible to talk to. And I think that I would say like that style is more and more disappearing for quality events, because you don't want to be screaming over the loud music. You actually want to have a more I would say chilled and better atmosphere where you can properly talk to your network, where you can connect with people, but also maybe learn about some new developments. That's why I see that there's more smaller events, more dinners appearing, more private events where you can actually focus on relationship building, where you can focus on looking for resources and providing resources that other people need rather than big parties. But of course, when like everyone is traveling to a conference and people are getting more tired by the end of the week, of course, there's always going to be bigger party where everyone is going to, because people tend to be too exhausted from already talking to each other. So I see that still going to continue. But I personally see more value in smaller but higher quality events where you actually know the people around and where you know at least like a topic or things that you have in common. Either it's let's say startup and investor mixer, and you know that this event is going to be about quality projects, and it's a good opportunity for VC funds to look for quality deal flow. Or, for example, it's a builders event where you're looking for builders who might be a great fit for your ecosystem, or some new ideas that are at extremely early stage, and you want to also stay tuned and follow up with these ideas.
No, great feedback. I guess this kind of next follow-up kind of question is for Captain Crypto or Arcanum. Where do you guys, do you find much success at conferences, small meetups? I mean, where do you tend to find a lot of your great projects that you get introduced to? And if so, is it because of specific introductions at these events, or is it just because you've stumbled across, or they've stumbled into your booth, so to say?
I can talk on that. So just to follow up a little bit on what Elena said, I think it's very important to kind of have a strategy when you go into these events. So obviously it depends on what your goals are. You know, if you're looking for an investor, if you're a builder, if it's specifically about L2s, for example. So I would target them very good. And then also there's a lot going on at these events. So a lot of times there's multiple, booths at once. So plan your itinerary, very well as well. I would definitely say it's very important. It's a good, because we've seen a lot of success with that. And sometimes you might not even get a chance to conversate with everybody as in depth as you want, but make sure that you get everybody's contact. So that's what I try to do. Identify the people that are most relevant to, what I'm trying to achieve or our company is trying to achieve at that time. Make sure that, I get their LinkedIn information or their WhatsApp or Telegram, whatever. But I definitely think it's vital. We do find a lot of projects coming to us, and we meet a lot of projects there as well. Well, for La Token, for ones that want to list. And even myself, I like to keep abreast with the new developments and everything. So it's a chance you sit down. It's a lot different in person. I know there were a lot of online ones during the COVID time, and that's okay. But there's nothing like looking somebody right in the eye, shaking their hand, and you just get a better sense of if you know the person. But like I said, the most important thing for me, it works well, but it has to be with a strategy and a purpose, and it has to be planned out. So it's not like you're just going there because it's easy. You can get caught up in what's going on and end up losing the whole day.
Yeah, agreed with that. There can be a lot of noise at these events, and especially as with how cyclical the industry is. When we go into a solid bull market, you get a lot of spectators, a lot of noise, and it's quite difficult to separate between people worth speaking to and people who have just come along to see what's what. And there's nothing wrong with that. I learned in this space by going to conferences and just speaking to people. But then when you get to a stage where you have a company, and like Captain Crypto said, you really do have to go in with your goals, and filter pretty quickly, or else you can end up stuck talking to someone for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and actually there's no real angle there. Um, so yeah, I think filtering is important. And I mean, let's take Dubai Token 2049, for example, recently. Um, we did not even really go to the main event. We just attended side events. And I think that is a good way of being specific, and avoiding the noise. So, there were so many people at the main event, but the side events all have sort of different niches. So if you're investing in a certain sector, then, you probably should be looking at attending the side events that are hosted by the right people that maybe you want to go meet or catch up with, or the events that are titled, let's say take Deepin, for example. Maybe there's a Deepin themed event, and it's sponsored by, two or three of the top projects within that sector. If that's the sector you're investing in, then you better go to that event. We always find side events to be really powerful. And also want to back up what Captain Crypto said about meeting in person, is so valuable. So I'd say two of our fund drivers in Fund 1, Puffer and Cross the Ages, we actually met these guys at conferences. And it was complete coincidence, really. So the first one was at a side event in Lisbon. We met Sammy from Cross the Ages. And I honestly knew within like 2 minutes that we were probably going to back his project, because this guy's charisma and the way that he started to pitch was just unbelievable. And I don't think it would have been the same on a Zoom call, right? And then the second one was a sort of private dinner, as a side event in Dubai. And we met the Puffer guys before they were even Puffer. But we sat down with them, and they had such a strong vision. And that they were so articulate, and so intelligent that we really invested in the people before they even really knew what they wanted to do. So just two examples there. Probably the two most successful projects so far in our first fund. They were actually, they weren't even introduced to us. They were just complete serendipity at side events, from conferences. So just shows you what can happen, what magic can happen if you put yourself out there, go to the right events, and just filter well and make sure you get to sit down with the right people.
Brilliant. We've touched quite an interesting side of it, in my opinion. So, for startups and perhaps, smaller projects, those events, like those big events that we mentioned before, Token 2049 or like International Blockchain Week or any other big events that are, on the market going forward, huge, attractive for everyone, right? Well marketing and so on and so on. They're quite expensive. The participation is like, it's outrageous. Some pricing is like unreal. So my question, I suppose, would be like, for smaller projects or just concepts or ideas or startups, it is quite complicated, I imagine, to pick and choose, because you can't possibly have a budget for, to attend all of them. But you do want to expose yourself. You do want to meet people within the space and also gain those connections and network and so on and so on. So like, if we were looking at all the events, how would you suggest like those smaller projects to maximize their outcomes and ROI, for instance, at those events? It could be consensus, right? But it also could be a small side event. Anything, any suggestions, any opinions are super welcome.
I think there should be always a strategy when it comes for you attending of like any type of event. So if you're, for example, traveling to a major conference, and let's take Consensus as an example, there are so many side events are happening daily, and all of them have also different purpose, different topics. So you need to understand if you, for example, an early stage project and you're currently raising, so you're looking for specific investors. You're not looking for an investor. You're looking for a specific investors. It might be a really good fit for your project. So you have to do more research beforehand. So you need to look for what type of VC funds you're looking for, if they're actually interested in your industry, if they're investing at the early stage, at the idea stage. So if you're, again, like if you're at the stage when you, let's say, don't have an MVP yet, you might also want to connect with ecosystems. You might want to explore different grant opportunities there. You might want to look for more angel investors. You need to understand that people you're going to talk to actually have a potential interest in your project. Otherwise, it's not going to be I would say it's not going to be efficient use of your resources, because you're going to be pitching a project to someone who doesn't have any interest in your specific application, in your specific vertical. They might not understand your business model, or they just don't have, I would say, a mandate to invest in that stage that you are currently in. So you need to understand what type of events you need to go to. I always recommend to look for people who can actually help and connect you with more. And that's why, like, if you're a Web3 builder, you should explore which ecosystem might be a better fit for you, not only from a perspective of technology, but also from a perspective of other means of support that they're offering. It can be marketing, it can be introducing you with other VC funds. Also, you should rely on your network that you already build a trust with. Again, like, people are very happy to support and make right introductions if you ask. If you are there with an actual vision, if you're very serious about what you're building and you're really passionate about, you will be surprised how many people will actually be willing to offer this extra support, introduce you to either a right investor who might be potentially interested in you, or might introduce with other strategic partners that can help to support and scale your business, or maybe just provide additional support. You can also be an early stage project that looking for more development support. So there are always developer focused events where you can find additional resources, or you can meet your potential co-founder. I would say it's really, really important to actually have a strategy in mind. You're not there for a sake of just being at an event. you're there to achieve certain goals, and you need to understand what these goals are before you're traveling anywhere. Otherwise, it's just going to be like endless event hopping. And yes, you will be connecting with a lot of people, but there are not going to be any actual ROI or outcome out of these meetings. So yeah, I would just recommend understanding what you are trying to achieve and who are exact people you want to meet and you want to connect with.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Elena, for bringing that up. You brought up a lot of really good points. Same with the rest of the panelists on that discussion. Definitely have an agenda. Definitely make sure that you do your research before you go to know who's planning on being there. A lot of times they give out maps around to the different booths, which make it a lot easier for you to kind of map out your days, especially if it's a multi-day event type of thing. So definitely want to move on to the next question. But before I do, we've kind of reached our halfway point. So for those that are just tuning in, my name is Cody. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at Layer 1X, and today's host of the XTalks. I'm joined by a group of panelists that are experts in the event and resource area for crypto projects, and we're excited to have them. Likewise, I'm joined by my co-host Inna, who's on the XTalks handle, and we're definitely having a good conversation. So again, if you guys have any questions for our panelists, please be sure to drop those in the threads below, and we'll get those questions up to our panelists a little bit later. So moving on with the questions, you guys have brought up a couple of different times, pitching, meeting the right people at the right events, and having a strategy. So let's get a little bit candid. What are the most common mistakes projects and individuals make when pitching at events, and how can they avoid them?
I don't
I
mind taking
can,
that one. Oh, Elena, did you want to go?
you can go.
Okay. So I think a lot of the time investors don't want to be overpitched. And although what I said about how Sammy sort of pitched on the spot, from across the ages, and it was captivating and led to investment, I think a lot of the time VCs can feel a little bit mobbed at events. Like as soon as you say you're an investor in the space, they'll start to pitch. And it's a little bit like it can be a little bit much, and it can make you back off. Like, whoa, let's get to know each other first, So I think it's good to pitch, and I would advise all project founders to get out there, meet VCs, and let them know about what you're doing, but just don't overdo it. Try and read the body language. If they seem like they're a bit flustered or a bit busy, don't start going into like a 5-minute pitch about what you do and asking for money. Build the relationship, get the telegram, and then maybe send over a deck. Don't be afraid to follow up as well. Follow-ups are really, really important. That's one of the biggest bits of advice I would give actually to founders is follow-ups after events. They're so key because, we're all there, we're meeting literally hundreds of people, and really it's the follow-ups that count. I could meet a great project, but if I don't hear from them for 2-3 weeks after the event, I'm just going to forget about them. Whereas the guy that's in my DMs, as soon as I land back, and I'm back in the office, if they're in my DMs and, sending over materials and, asking me questions, then they're going to get my attention.
I completely agree with this. I think it's like what you were mentioning about over pitching. I see a lot of founders also making mistake as trying like to provide all types of information at once, which is like really, really overwhelming. So it's every time like I'm at an event and founders coming and they're trying to pitch their ideas, it's all types, going from like a heavy in-depth like infrastructure to our consumer applications, and they're just trying to provide you with all the information. So for example, like some investors are more technical, and of course like it's easier for them to connect and they will be more passionate about learning about actual technology and how it's being built and like how it is solving a problem on a technical level. Some investors are more consumer focused and they're not necessarily very technical or understand like heavy infrastructure projects, and it's easier for them to understand a marketing or go-to-market part of the project rather than going into more technical development related aspects. So you also need to understand who exactly you're talking to and not trying to overwhelm a person with every single detail about your project. It's more about like giving a one sentence or to just I would say like provoke an interest in investor about your project. But also you need to understand who you're talking to, because if this person have no interest or doesn't invest in this area that you're building in, there is also no really need to pitch. You can just shortly introduce yourself. You can say what you're working on, but normally one sentence is enough for making your first introduction. Don't try to just spam everything that you got, like from your traction to your team to how much you're raising before investor can even start talking about themselves. Which is like I see happening every single time, and I see sometimes investors just like hiding at an event and saying like I can't do that anymore. Like projects are just coming and trying to pitch, and I think like successful pitch is no pitch. You just introduce yourself and just kind of, I would say, structure this one sentence liner about the problems that we're solving. And if there is an interest, the investor gonna ask your follow-up questions. And then, yes, you can continue conversation afterwards, like over coffee, or like have maybe a Zoom call if you live in different locations. But yeah, don't try to overwhelm. Focus on actual conversation, because you also want to see if this person is someone you want to bring to your cap table. Because sometimes like money is not like everything that you need. Money is actually the easiest part in your fundraising journey. It's more about finding a right partner, and you should treat our investor, especially your early stage investor, as your co-founder or a partner. And that's why you also want to get to know them. Of course, you want to see if it's a right fit. Is that person going to have a bigger share in your company? And you want to see if you are willing to work with this person long term. So focus on actually knowing a person, an investor who you're talking to before trying to like spam with all the information.
No, great advice. So if I'm
Can
hearing
I
you,
just add a couple more points, guys? Is that
yeah,
okay?
go for it.
So, more advice I would give to project founders is you have to put yourself out there and not be afraid of rejection. And I think on a personal level, whether you're a business development guy or investor relations or a founder, or a CEO, rejection is something that we all find hard to deal with. But most of the time, the rejection will not be personal. Might not even be about the project. And something that you have to understand about a lot of investors in the space is that they're all in different points of their own sort of mini cycles. So a lot of the time, VC funds, maybe they're fully deployed on one fund and they haven't raised the next. And so they might be at a point where they would love to listen to your pitch, but they don't have the capital to invest. And so they might seem disinterested, or trying to, maybe they want to meet investors, because they're raising their next fund and they're desperate to deploy capital, but they don't have any. And so if they seem disinterested, it's not about you or your project necessarily. So yeah, I just think not being afraid of rejection and just understanding that everyone's in a different point. Maybe they don't have capital to invest, and it might not be your fault.
No, that's definitely a great take. So just for our listeners that are listening in, if I can put this in an analogy, basically, they need to get their flirt game on with, the, different VCs if they're looking for it. It's all about kind of luring them in and, getting getting them interested in your project that way. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, definitely. But don't forget follow-ups. Get contact
Yep.
details and make sure you follow up. And if you don't hear back, then follow up again. Go for
Yep.
no.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's super important because I had a guy, one of my networks, and somebody asked for an introduction. They made the introduction, and the guy said, "Look, have you heard back from the investor?" Told me, "Look, if they're not like persistent enough to follow up with me and find out if I'm interested, then I'm not interested." So that's one of the most important things. Bug them, as much. Obviously, don't overdo it, but you want to keep a regular follow up. You never know, they could be busy. Another piece of advice I would give, two pieces of advice, like practice making the pitch short and sweet, and then have somebody, if you can, because like I said, in my case, I have a couple of investors, all they do is look at pitch decks. So they know in the first couple of minutes if they like it or not. Perfect your pitch. If you have a deck, perfect that with somebody like that they know exactly what they're looking for in either a deck or a presentation, and then actually practice pitching to, like, not the actual person that you're going to pitch to, but somebody like that, and they can dissect it for you and then give you your feedback, so that when you're with the person, you have to know, obviously, your product or service. Some people may not even be good at pitching. If not, have somebody specifically just for that role. It doesn't have to be necessarily the CEO. But when you're pitching, be short, straight to the point, talk about the problems that you solve, and, be able to judge a person too. A good person that's pitching, they can judge, a person's interest or not. So those are some more important advice that I would say.
I actually disagree with that, especially for like early stage projects. I would say, first of all, it's really important for a founder to represent the project, especially if you're taking an investor call. Investors don't tend not to want to talk to someone who is not at the founder position, and no one else can represent your project better than you are, because it's your vision and it's your idea. I also not a big fan of practicing a pitch, because it becomes like more, I would say, transactional rather than a storytelling. And the best pitch out there is actually, again, not a pitch, it's a story. It's a story how you created the project and why you're building it, how it's solving the problem on the market. So I would say I actually, I do recommend to improving pitch deck, making it short and very easy to understand. But I always recommend not to use that pitch deck during, let's say, an investor call, because again, you want to talk about your vision, you want to talk about yourself and why are you here, and trying to present yourself from a personal perspective. Because if it's an early stage project idea, doesn't matter as much as your ability to actually execute and build a successful project. So that's what I would recommend to keep in mind. And when it comes to in-person events, of course, try to keep it short. There shouldn't be a proper pitch. It should be a story, and a story about you and how you started building this idea. So I would try to make it as less salesy as possible. And there is no way to practice, I would say, an organic conversation with investor. It all happens at the spot, and you have to have a feeling like what this person is interested in, and you also have to have a feeling of a connection with this person. So just be a real human, try to have a conversation. It's not it shouldn't be necessarily transactional, and there is no way to practice a real conversation.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Cody, do you mind if I turn this conversation complete sideways?
Sure. Go
You
for it.
don't mind, right?
No,
Okay.
go
I
for
just
it.
have a question. As Yelena mentioned, it's all about humans and, actual people behind project, behind organization of events and networking. So I'm going to actually twist it 360 degrees and go towards different direction. And my question is event organization and also venture capital work requires enormous amount of human resources, and I feel like it's pretty complicated for a person who would like to seek employment within this space to get into this area and start building their experience and expertise within that space. So I'm very, very curious if you guys have certain non-negotiables when you pick your team, when you build your team. Is it mostly focused on marketing people? Is it mostly focused on good sales people, how do you approach this side of things?
Is this aimed at VCs?
Yeah, same thing, because you guys as well,
Mhm.
you need a good team in order to
Yeah, yeah.
assess, in order to, communicate and stuff. So yeah, I think it takes, it takes
Yeah,
good
so
humans.
we have a good example that happened very recently, actually. So we're very passionate about reporting. We update all of our investors on every portfolio company every quarter. But that's quite a heavy load, right? We have to maintain relationships and communication with 44 portfolio companies in that first fund. And we basically need to do a write-up every 3 months. So we have to know exactly what's going on all the time with all of these companies, check in with them, ask them if they need any help. So for a good VC, one that doesn't just write checks and then sell, a good VC that really adds value and communicates well with other companies and helps them, there's actually a lot of business development involved. And so to answer your question about how would you get involved, we had a guy send us a cold email. He has a background in private equity. He's a young guy, early 20s, and he's been in crypto for a while, but he wanted to sort of get into it in an institutional capacity and just learn by working with a VC. And he sent us a cold email, he sent us a CV, and he said, look, I'm happy to work with you guys on an internship for no salary. And it's like, well, how can you turn that down? Right? I was like, I have to take a call with this guy. And he was really knowledgeable. He'd been in the space for maybe 2-3 years, I think. He clearly done a lot of research. He understood DeFi. He's really got stuck in and used, decentralized exchanges and all of this stuff. And so I just thought, why not? Like, he can help with reporting. So we started with that, and he did a great job, a really great job. And it's like, okay, this is a good start. Let's get him involved with business development, connect with the teams, put him in Telegram groups, stuff like that. And so far that's going really, really well. And now, after only a couple of months, I'm thinking, this guy can be a serious part of the team. And that all came from a cold email. He might have emailed 10 or 20 crypto VCs. And we were simply the first that said, yeah, sure, let's get on a call. And it just shows you what can come out of that. So again, advice to, young people who want to get into the space, it's don't be scared of rejection. Put yourself out there. It's a numbers game. Go to some smaller firms and just offer your time and services for free if you can, if you can afford to do that. Even if it's on a part-time basis. And the chances are one of them will say, yeah, sure. And before you know it, you're building valuable experience and working with people you can learn from.
No, I love that advice. That is definitely, that definitely works in crypto as well as in the real world, I guess you could say, in Web 2. I mean, that's how I got my start over in crypto, about uh, full full steam ahead with my career in 2020. I found a protocol that I really liked, and I put together a 40-page revision of how to improve their whole ecosystem and presented it to the founder. And yeah, it was a great opportunity, specifically with my background being in UI UX design. It was a great opportunity to see that project flourish as a result of it. So, and it definitely makes a good name. So, yeah, I definitely loved what you just said there, and it's an opportunity for everybody, not just one seeking just VC funding or anything like that. It's for anybody that wants to get involved in any type of institutional or protocol type of base. Just open your mouth and see how you can get involved with it. It's a great thing. So thanks, Anna, for taking us 180. we, we definitely, needed that. That was a good question. But, to kind of rope it back in, I had somebody ping me on my personal account. One of the questions that they did have is, when it comes to events, we all know that, startups, specifically startups, are very low on budget. What are some unique or creative ways that you've seen startup projects stand out in a crowd at an event or a conference that you guys have been at?
Is anyone talking, or we get rugged, or the question wasn't clear? What's up, guys?
Hey guys, still
Yeah, I
here.
thought I'd let someone
There
else
you go.
take this one.
Go for it. Go for it.
So I mean, just trying to think of a specific example. I think for me, something that they gave out was like the merch. Like that always kind of sticks out to me. So people that have some interesting merch that actually has some more information about the project helps, because a lot of times, like I said, there's so much going on. People can kind of just get overwhelmed, and it's hard to really know, who to look at. So a lot of times myself, I don't necessarily assimilate all the information right there. So I try to collect, business cards or just something, like I said, a physical giveaway that somebody's actually going to keep and hold on to, rather than just, a business card, something that gets their attention, and that they would look at afterwards. I think is a good idea personally. That's worked for me. That's what got my attention specifically.
Anyone else have any other examples? If not, I can share one that we did. Okay, I guess we'll share ours. So last year at Consensus, Layer 1X didn't have a booth, and so we actually designed t-shirts with QR codes on them, and we walked around and we're talking to people. It was, as we kind of look back on it, it was really successful for us because I felt like we weren't stuck with just a booth at Consensus, and we were able to walk around, and it was very interesting because there was three of us there. We had our COO and CSO there along with myself, and as we were walking around, it was interesting because after like one day, we actually had projects coming up to us because they would see our shirts with the QR codes on there that they could scan and get more information about what we were doing at Layer 1 and how we were doing it. And yeah, we got so many different business cards and potential partnerships out of them, and we've made a lot of good connections there as well. So, and we were just starting out with a lot of bootstrap as well, and kind of going. So for those that are on a bootstrap budget, yeah, I mean, dye your hair pink, wear a pink shirt, hot orange, something to make you stand out. But, if you can't afford a booth, but, really, I'm kind of on the fence if a booth is really worth it because, you need to be mobile. We talked about side events. Um, Arcanum explained that those side events are really good ones. We had a lot of great contacts with people outside on different side events, and thinking of consensus since it's coming up next is some of the lounges that they had made really good connections just going up and having a more candid conversation with just introducing ourselves to people in different lounges. So huge fan of side events, huge fan of just opening up your mouth and not being afraid of just talking about what you're doing, what the other people are doing, and finding potential synergies around it. So, I don't think we have anybody was daring enough to put out any questions for our panelists. So I'll jump out with the last question here. So if you could wave a magic wand and redesign every crypto event experience from scratch, what would it look like? What elements would absolutely need to be present to create the most valuable, engaging, and transformative experience for the attendee?
I can jump in here. So I would say it's again more about curation. So you want to make sure that you invite people who are mutually interested in each other and can have actual real conversations. So if it's our event, let's say, like, it depends also on your goal as an event organizer. Like if you're looking for you're a VC and you're looking for more quality or deal flow. You want to put together an event that is focused on startups, but also invite our strategic partners on the investment side. So you want to make sure that there is investors interested in startups and there are quality projects, because quality projects want to come where there are quality investors, active investors in your space, and vice versa. If you are an ecosystem and you're trying to attract more builders or to build on top of your chain, so you also want to focus on more builders related events, like having like a hackathon, or like inviting also other like technical advisors who can like help support and actually facilitate our conversations here. So you want to have a meaningful agenda for your event, and you want to make sure you invite audience that actually responding with your goal and also with the topic of the event. Otherwise, you will end up having either just networking for the sake of networking, where there is no actual ROI, or like having just like a party. So you just need to understand what is your goal. Sometimes it's like sometimes a company is just looking for brand awareness, and it can be a big party. So it just depends on what you are looking for to achieve with your event. For us personally, the most successful events are the ones that are more intimate and more curated. And again, since we are supporting a lot of founders, we always are trying to keep a very good mix between startups, investors, and also potential strategic network that can support the startups. So to make sure that people are coming in the room and they know like every single person they're going to talk to are mutually beneficial for them in their business, and also just a great people to talk to, because you also want to invite people who are very good at our conversation and really good people who can support you and support projects that you are bringing in. So it's more about a community that share same values, and you always need to understand what is the purpose of the event that you're organizing.
Love it. Captain Crypto, Acronym, do you guys have anything you want to add?
I think venue is really important, whether it's a side event or whether it's the main sort of conference event. Venue is really key. So I would say a couple of bad experiences that I had in Dubai recently was there was one side event and it was in a very small venue, and there was a bit set up for like panelists and speakers and then an audience, and then there was like no breakout area for networking and meeting people. So everyone was just sat there like, when are we going to get to talk to each other? So I think really having a good spacious breakout area for networking is essential. And I guess another bad experience is just when you go to, whether it's the main conference event or a side event, if the venue is not big enough, it can just feel really claustrophobic and just like too many people, too little space, too noisy. You can't really hear each other. And so I guess to answer your question, try and avoid those problems happening, right? If the venue is too small, it's not going to be a great environment to meet people and talk. Another bad experience, it was actually, I think, one of the biggest side events in Dubai, and we attended for maybe 30 to 60 minutes before we got the hell out because the music was so loud, no one could hear each other speak. And so there were a few founders that we'd arranged to meet there, catch up, sit down. There was nowhere to actually talk because the music was so loud, and it wasn't even like the party time yet. Like the party bit hadn't started. It was, sort of mingling and drinks. It was an evening event, but no one could hear each other speak. And so that was quite frustrating, and we ended up just going somewhere quieter.
I think you brought up a good point too. Another one that we've experienced numerous times. I've experienced numerous times as well. Is that when there's free alcohol late at night, don't even bother pitching because half of the time people can't even remember what you're talking to them about anyway. So definitely keep that in mind as well. Captain Crypto, do you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think they touched on most of the topics. Definitely the venue is important. From my point of view, I would say something that's important to me is just making sure that the event is structured right as well. So I'll have the breakout rooms where you can actually network with people, but also like the actual, because some events that I went to, it's like there was everything happening at once. So I was like kind of interested in, more than one thing. So I guess kind of section it into different topics and have everybody have the chance to actually get the information that they want. So like I said, the structure of your whole event has to be very well thought out. I think that's important.
No, that's definitely a great point as well. I like that. Yeah. Not having the correct venue spaces is definitely limits a lot of the networking that can go on. Perfect. So, we're almost 10 minutes after the hour. Just want to be mindful of everybody's time. We want to thank our panelists for joining us today, and we do appreciate them taking out their time. They are definitely experts in their field. So please give them a follow. If you guys want to take 30 seconds and just tell people how they can keep in contact with you, send you those slide into your DMs so that they can ask you those questions and keep following up with you as well. Go ahead and do that. We'll start with Captain Crypto.
Yes, so with me, you can reach me on Twitter. I think I also have my other information here. I think I have my phone number here on Twitter. But yeah, hit me in the DM. If you want to talk about a new project or anything, if you want to collaborate or even just talk about crypto in general, my DMs are open. So
Yeah, for me, you can reach me out here on X, or you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. And you can always reach out to Supermoon either by visiting supermoongroup.com or by visiting supermooncamp.com. So you can find also our team information. So if you're looking to join the community or like looking for support for your project, I recommend going directly to Supermoon resources, and you will find the necessary support there.
And for us, yeah, we're quite active on X. I don't know if the DMs are open, or we might get, quite a lot. I would say if you're a founder and you want us to take a look at your project, email is probably best. You can email us at info@arcanum.capital. And if you're just interested in what we do, maybe you want to see our portfolio and stuff, keep an eye on X. We're often reposting portfolio highlights from the companies themselves. And then you can also go on our website. That's just arcanum.capital. And we regularly post things like news, and the portfolio is up to date on there. So every time we invest in a company, that will get added. And you can read about myself and my partners.
Brilliant. Thanks everybody again for joining. Please give these guys a follow. We appreciate it. And if you're listening in and you have a specific topic that you want us to address, things more like this, please give a DM to our XTalks handle, and Anna will do her very best to put together an episode around what you're looking to hear. Again, this is a free platform for projects, chains, and individuals to kind of come together and unite in Web3. That's what we're all here about. That's the ethos of Layer 1X blockchain, is to unite all of crypto. And so that's why we're doing this platform. So please let us know what you want to learn more about, hear about, who you want to talk to, because we will definitely get them on board with our AMA series. So, Captain Crypto, did you have something?
oh no, that's just the fist man.
Gotcha. No worries. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. This was a great episode. Again, give these panelists a follow. They definitely deserved it. So with that being said, have a great week, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're at in the world. And we'll talk to you later.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everyone.
guys.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
one.
Goodbye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Have a great day, everyone.